Get ready to dive into the comic book realm, where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art. Our source material, we tear the panels apart.
Waka, waka, waka. It's time for Gay Chicken. Bow, 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 bow.
What? That sounds tasty.
Howard Stern took the melody of Daytripper by the Beatles,
Okay.
and he would play a game on the Howard Stern show called Gay Chicken, which I know you've played before. Remember when we were watching Rage Against the Machine, and we were waiting, and it was in between sets, and we were waiting for Rage Against the Machine to come out. I'm like, hey, Jesse, you want to play a game? You like try to get me to play Marvel Snap, and I'm like, put that away. How about you and me in a rousing game of Gay Chicken?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I do not remember that at all.
It's time for Gay Chicken.
Oh, boy.
Daytripper.
I love it. My goodness, Mark Radlich, you've done it again.
This is another fine mess you've gotten us into, Radlich.
Well, here's the thing. So, yes, we're going to be talking about Daytripper tonight.
This was we're going to be talking about Gay Chicken.
Gay Chicken. Remember, a 2010 comic book came out from Vertigo, and I'd heard about this book. I didn't know anything about it other than I just heard it was good.
Yeah.
So
this was everywhere for a while. It was on a bunch of reading lists. If you walk into Barnes and Nobles, it was on an end cap or a featured comic book. They pushed this comic pretty hard, especially when it came out as a trade.
So I think maybe I'd heard about it from another podcast. I'm assuming this was a Mark Shelf deal here. This was sitting on your shelf.
So actually, this is because of The Crow. Remember?
That's right.
I wanted to do The Crow, and I went to Fancy, and I was like, find me books like The Crow that we haven't already done. And it suggested Daytripper and the Many Deaths of Layla Starr. And then after Darth Vader, you were like, please stop trying to review 50 comics in one show. So we moved Daytripper to its own episode.
Okay. And this definitely feels like that was part of that trilogy. When you compare this, it definitely reminds me of Many Deaths of
That's what it was.
Starr.
Like, it took like Death and Resurrection from Crow and was like, run with that.
Yeah.
So that's how Daytripper and Many Deaths of Layla Starr all got roped in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to read you a little something. I had our buddy ChatGPT do some deep research, and
put your hand on my inner thigh, give it a big squeeze, and read to me.
Here we go. Like I said, 10-issue comic book limited series. This is created by Brazilian twin brothers, Fábio Moon and Gabriel Ba. The story follows Brás de Oliva Domingos, an aspiring novelist.
Your Spanish is delectable.
Thank you very much. I took 2 years of it in high school.
Sorry, you're Portuguese.
I'll roll my R's, just like I was saying hi to Natalia.
Listen, if you can't roll your R's, you can always give them the old Popeye.
I give him the old an aspiring novelist who writes newspaper obituaries for a living. Each issue of Daytripper depicts an important day in Brás's life, be it a personal milestone, reunion, or turning point, and ends with Brás's death in an alternate reality. These repeated deaths are not literal continuity, but a narrative device. With each chapter, the comic explores what is the meaning of life by showing.
He fucking tries to figure that out, and I had to go to ChatGPT. I'm like, why does he keep dying?
Yeah, this dude keeps dying. What is going on here? I'm waiting for the big reveal at the end, and lo and behold, that does not happen. There's not like some reveals of why this is occurring. This is just a narrative device here. So it shows how even ordinary days can become profound in retrospect. Across the series, Brás experiences love, friendship, family, success, and loss, living many possible lifetimes only to die at the end of each scenario. Despite its morbid premise, Daytripper is ultimately a hopeful meditation on life, highlighting the beauty in everyday moments and the legacy we leave behind. At its core, Daytripper is about life, death, and the value of each day. Moon and Ba use death as a narrative hook. Brás' many deaths to illuminate the preciousness of life. As one reviewer noted, make no mistake, Daytripper is a celebration of life. Death in this book is merely a device to drive home the message of seizing the day, carpe diem, because it could be your last. Each chapter highlights a defining moment in Brás's life, his first kiss, a reunion with an old friend, the birth of his child, the loss of a parent, emphasizing that these pivotal experiences shape who we are. By showing Brás at different ages, the story asks the reader to consider which moments truly matter in a person's journey. The origin of the concept came from a sudden insight by Gabriel, who recalls thinking of how a lost bullet could cross his window and kill him out of the blue. And just like that, what would be his life up until that point? What does death mean in our lives? This morbid thought sparked the idea of a character who lives many lives and dies repeatedly in different ways. When Vertigo editor Bob Schreck later asked for the brothers to pitch a series, they developed this idea into Daytripper. Fábio Moon explains that although the story features many deaths, death makes us think about life. Ultimately, we wanted to tell a story about one man's life. One striking aspect of this book is its non-linear structure. The chapters are not told in chronological order. For instance, one issue finds Brás at age 32, and then the next flashes back to age 21. Another later jumps to his old age. This unstuck-in-time approach was very deliberate.
Could you imagine reading this monthly? This was 10 monthly issues. Could you imagine every issue you pick it up? Like, well, where's the story going? And he's at a different age, at a different point in his life. It's weirdly titled.
It's so funny. Each cover of every issue had a quote from somebody kind of famous or attached to the literary world praising what was going on. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I'm trying to figure out, what do they know that I don't? And obviously, the big thing is it's kind of like the hook. But then you start to realize as you get to issues 3 and 4, this is going to continue to happen to this guy. But where do we end? What's going to end? How's this thing going to end? I think that was really, as I was reading this, what made me stay invested. Like, okay, are we going to get an answer as to what's going on here?
I wanted to see where it was going. Once I was hip to the jive that he dies at the end of every chapter, but it's a symbolic death. I was like, okay, so what's the big reveal here? Because like with the many deaths of Layla Starr, she goes on a journey.
Yeah,
you know,
she's learning something each time, and she's keeping that. This is not happening with this guy. He isn't continually keeping continuity in his head as to what happened before. It's brand new for him.
It definitely made me think about how, well, I don't want to get tremendously personal, but I feel like after the fact, I kind of related to the concept of this book of feeling like you died in a certain place. Your physical body, your life may have continued on. Like I am chronologically 49, but I definitely feel like there are points in my life where the me who was living at that time died a very real death. And I became a very different person after that. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because this will end up being another hour of Mark's therapy session. And I just did a whole TikTok on emotional vomiting, and I don't want to do that to you, Jesse. I have been told your kink is not when I vomit all over you emotionally. So
that is not my. It's interesting you say that, because I actually wrote that down in one of my notes.
Emotional vomiting is not your
Yes,
kink.
I said emotional vomit, and it says, as for Mark, don't engage. I wrote down here that it was very much a situation where there is a loss of something, or you're just moving on, and it's a different chapter. In this guy's case, each chapter that hits, he dies at the end of every single one of these when these chapters hit, and when the new pages turn.
It's not even like a spiritual death. In one, he gets stabbed to death on a beach. Another one, he gets run over by a truck.
Literal death is what happens to this dude.
It's implied as a child he grabbed an electric cord.
Yeah.
These are very real, painful, physical deaths. It isn't like she broke my heart and I died that day. It's like she broke my heart and dropped a piano on my head.
Anything you want to get off your chest before we jump into the summary and questions on our first 3 issues?
I think before we start talking about this, you take whatever I throw at you and be like, all right, well, you'll talk about it. So I know I'm not going to get a lot if I ask you, like, oh, what did you think about me making you read this book? But I am curious, between me telling you this is what we're doing and you going through the act of reading it and making notes on it, did you have any reflections as far as the kinds of comics you like versus the kinds you don't like and where this landed? Did you picture Jesse just like, can he ever pick a Booster Gold comic?
That is not me. That is not me.
Thank God I have unspoken issues and I can get a break from Mark's weirdo comic collection.
No, that's not me. I enjoy books like this for sure. Vertigo books are great. If you start looking at some of the stuff that came out in Vertigo, they're not beholden to because Vertigo's an imprint of DC. They have the ability to do whatever they want with their books. They can tell we're not going to have Superman showing up and interacting with our main character here. That's not something that happens, because these storytellers are there to tell a story that isn't going to be beholden to DC continuity. So I really appreciate some of the stuff that Vertigo does, because not only do they push the limits, but a lot of times they have great storytellers involved in a lot of the books they put out.
It really does take the comic book medium and divorce it from its traditions and origins. This could have very easily been a novel, a short story. Could have very easily been a movie. Could have very easily been a television show.
Yeah.
It was just the walks of life that got them to do this story as a comic book. But like that, I guess that's my point. This is one of those that didn't have to be a comic. Could have been anything.
Right. And the other thing I'll say is that, like I said, I had heard some buzz about this book. I didn't know what it was. In my reading ventures, I think I would have actually landed on this and picked it up and read it myself without being prompted by you. So again, it gives me the opportunity to dive into something that I really wanted to check out.
The last thing I'm going to say before I give you back your show and stop taking it hostage is I didn't know anything about it, but between the title, the cover art, the fact that ChatGPT was associating it with the Crow and the many deaths of Layla Starr, I thought it was going to be more ethereal.
Okay.
I've never dropped acid, but when you drop acid, you're tripping out or you're tripping balls. And the book is called Daytripper. So I'm expecting this to be psychedelic, ethereal. I expected to get on here and be like, I loved it. I don't understand a word of what I read.
Right.
But this has got a very clear narrative to it. It's non-linear. Robert Winfrey's like, you hate it, don't you? And he's beating me with a sock, and he's open a sock. You hate non-linear storytelling. Tell the truth. I'm like, why? How did we get there? But I was not expecting it to be this concrete, this straightforward. Based on, again, like The Crow is kind of a weirdo story that deals with magic. Layla Starr dealt with magic. There's no magic in this book.
No. And just like you said, when you look at the covers of these issues and the art that's in the book, some of it is, the covers definitely make you think like, oh, there could be some weirdness going on here, but
they
it
use
really
watercolors. Watercolors elicit dreaminess.
Yeah.
State of an ethereal state of mind. I don't get high, but when I think about the way it's presented, and then you actually read the book, you're like, oh, I don't want to get high and read this. I'll get afraid someone's going to stab me on the beach or some shit.
Yeah, last thing I need to do is start tripping and then read a story where the guy dies over and over and...
You were dead! It's like, you turn to the fucking Step Brothers. You were dead! That's all you die!
So let's get into our summary of our first 3 issues here. So our first story opens with Brás. He's a 32-year-old obituary writer who dreams of being a novelist but feels overshadowed by his famous father. We follow him through the mundane rhythm of his day, walking his dog, fielding calls from his mother and wife, bantering with his friend Jorge, and dreading, which, by the way, when I was in Spanish class, that was my name. I was Jorge.
Nice. I've been El Jefe for many years now. I kept oscillating between George and Jorge.
Okay, good enough.
Because I really wish the Spanish and the Portuguese would make up their minds.
Bantering with his friend Jorge and dreading the gala honoring his father that night. After struggling with his own writing and spending hours at the newspaper, he reluctantly heads out, but a detour for cigarettes takes him to a modest bar. There he connects briefly with the bartender, Gennarino, over their shared experience of living in their father's shadows. The night turns tragic when Gennarino's nephew Yoka storms in, desperate and armed. In a burst of violence, Yoka kills his uncle, then Brás. The issue closes with an obituary-style reflection. Brás dies on his birthday, age 32, his life cut short as if it were just beginning. And then we get into the second issue. Brás is 21, traveling with Jorge through Salvador. He's restless, searching for freedom, beauty, and direction, while Jorge is more grounded. Brás soon meets Olinda, a striking, enigmatic woman, and their conversations about love, identity, and the pace of life stirs something new in him. Drawn to her, he follows her through markets to a beachside ritual honoring Amanya. There we go. Amanya. That shows up later. And the goddess of the sea. Their connection grows quickly, culminating in a night together. Brás feels caught up in possibility, as though he has stumbled upon love and destiny all at once. Yet the morning brings loss. As he follows a priest to a boat that heads into the sea, Brás himself drowns, claimed by the waters in a cruel twist. The chapter ends with the reminder that he was only 21, full of potential that would never be realized. And the third issue shifts again, this time to Brás at 28. So yeah, as you can see, folks, if you didn't catch on the last issue where he died at 21, but he died in 38 in the first issue, now he's at 28. We find him reeling from the collapse of a long relationship with Olinda, whose bitter parting words still echo in his head. He lives alone, smoking and drinking, haunted by the life he thought they would share. His father advises him to pursue unforgettable moments and not settle for mediocrity, but Brás struggles with emptiness. Jorge tries to cheer him, even jokingly writing an obituary for Brás as if heartbreak had killed him. I think that's where it clicked for me. I guess I had to have it spelled out, like, oh, okay, this is kind of what we're doing here. But nothing can shake the lingering weight of failure. Then, in a moment of chance, Brás encounters a stranger in a bakery, a woman whose beauty and presence instantly ignite hope. For the first time in ages, he feels alive, certain this is the beginning of something new. Brás runs back to seize the chance, his heart surging with joy, but fate intrudes once more. A delivery truck slams into him before he can return to her, ending his life at 28. His obituary reflects a man who was searching for love in the desert of modern life, cut down just as he rediscovered its promise. So there's our first 3 issues. I'll go ahead and start with mine for our first issue here. In our first issue, he's upset. It took me a while. I think I actually had to read the issue twice to realize that he was upset that his parents didn't remember his birthday because his dad was getting honored that night. His dad didn't wish him a happy birthday. His mom didn't wish him a happy birthday. And the whole issue, it's his birthday. Jorge remembers and writes a beautiful note on the inside of the birthday card. It spoke to me, and I think it spoke to me today because of some of the horrible events that are happening in our world. But here, let me read this to you. The young open the paper to forget about life by reading the funny strips. The old do it to forget about death by reading other people's obits. My advice, don't open the paper and go on with your life. What do you think?
Head in the sand, huh?
Don't open the paper. Don't open the phone. Stay off of Facebook. Stop scrolling TikTok.
There's some good stuff here in these first 3 issues. That first scene in the bar makes a great opening to a movie. How did I get to this place where I'm in a bar on the night this guy's nephew freaks out, shoots the bartender who is his uncle and
Who's his uncle?
Yeah, and just, and runs off with the money because he's desperate. Like, the book treats death as this unavoidable entity. But just because death comes for us all does not mean death has the same reactions. People treat death differently. Some people live every day like it's their last. Some people try to avoid death, like, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat leafy greens. I'm going to do all the things. But then it's funny, think about the Dennis Leary line about, the jogging guy. I don't remember if it was Jack LaLanne or somebody else, but like, he wrote a jogging book. He did this. When he fucking died when he was jogging, that's when. Like, you do all the right. It is the ultimate. You do all the right things, but nobody avoids death. Though I don't know, man. You spend as much time sorting through social media as I do, especially on the AI technology side. Every third post is we're this close to defeating death.
Oh, like, yeah.
I do think, and it's funny because this is a comic book podcast after all, and I referenced your affection for traditional superhero comics. How often Marvel dealt with that sort of thing where they treated death as another character, like literally with Thanos. Thanos is like, I worship death. I love death. And death is portrayed as an actual woman. And I've made the jokes before about death as modern woman. It's like Thanos is like, I'll do anything to please you. You can't do enough. I assure you, I will never be satisfied. Thinking about death, Galactus, some of the other cosmic beings as natural forces of the universe. If you remember the trial of Reed Richards, he got put on trial by all the cosmic beings and alien races, was that he had defeated Galactus. He had caused Galactus to not be able to feed anymore. They were like, you can't do that. Galactus is a natural force of the universe. There must be birth, life, decay, death, rebirth. That's the cycle. If you break the cycle, you break the universe. I feel like in its own way, Daytripper is trying to speak to that without getting into weirdo cosmic beings. That regardless of what decisions this guy makes, no matter where he puts himself, it's like Final Destination. You cannot outrun death.
Yeah.
Those first 3 issues, one of the things that becomes very apparent, almost to the point of being repetitive by the time you get to the end of the book, is how we all have such a tenuous grasp of life. Some of us celebrate it, some of us waste it. Sometimes you start out celebrating it and then end up wasting it because life can be cruel and unfair. I think it's the second or third issue where he meets the chick from El Salvador. Can I talk about this for a second?
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of getting away from the death thing. The best thing about this book is these guys seem to really have a grasp of human behavior in a way that I don't necessarily always see in a comic book. Him meeting this wonderfully bizarre woman, just this absolute fucking goddess sent from heaven to take him on a trip of the life fantastic. And 7 years later, she's like, I'm bored. You're boring. Your job sucks. Why aren't you home more often? I hate this life. I hate this apartment. I hate you. I'm packing a bag and I'm wandering into the street. And I'm reading this and I'm just like, I may have to put this book down.
My first note on that third issue is like, what did he do?
He committed the ultimate sin, the original sin. He was a dude with a job. That's what he did, Jesse.
By the end of issue 21, he meets Olinda. We're wondering if a relationship can happen, and then he dies at the end of that. Yeah. We're writing that up. We get the part of the story where he's met her, and then 7 years later, on his 28th, we see that they did have a life together. It opens up with her going, you're a piece of shit.
I didn't want this life. He's like, you didn't want any life. He was like, I wanted to be something special. He's like, who the fuck stopped you? And I'm just sitting there like, did y'all take this from my fucking life?
Yeah.
I got up for a little while and like put the book down.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. We watched him go through that. And then that was my first question. What did he do to elicit what's so wrong? And one of the things I remember her saying was, I didn't come here to be a housewife.
Right.
And so I don't know what she was expecting, but obviously
for him to solve all her problems and for her to always be happy.
Yeah. Always got the sense that Brás was somebody that was always concerned about having a career. He was always concerned about, you
mean like money to pay for stuff?
Yeah, trying to make a living. But back when he was 21, and you and I both can actually kind of relate. When you were 21, there was that sense of like, oh, there's so much lying ahead of me.
Yeah. I had hope and dreams and light in my eyes.
Right. Unfortunately, yeah, just like you said, 7 years later, we have responsibilities. We have to make the rent. We have to pay for the utilities. Unfortunately, that free spirit can't continue in ourselves. And I guess maybe that's what she kind of represents for him, is his free spirit embodied by Olinda walking out the door. He is committed to being a dude, just like you said, being a productive member of society.
Well, it's funny, the theme of this book being life, death, resurrection. When she leaves, a part of him dies. And it's the part of him that he's saying goodbye to youthful indiscretions. Like at some point, those of us who embrace adulthood realize that the party is over. Sure, we have moments of levity, but especially if you start families and stuff, you have to put away childish things. It's actually funny. Part of the reason why I love doing this podcast with you is because I never know which direction it's going to go in. I never get worried we don't have enough material. But for example, I read a book. I just did a TikTok on it. It's part of Radulich University now, Rejuvenation, and it was talking about how the change from like 100 or 150 years ago is very quickly in a man's life, you had to become an adult. And becoming an adult is putting away childish things and taking on all the responsibilities of running a farm, running a home, earning money, taking care of your family. And then the second half of the 20th century comes along, and America is given the gift of leisure. Suddenly, kids are told you can stay kids for a while. In fact, we're encouraging you to stay kids for a while. And then you multiply that out 2 or 3 generations and look at our peer group. You know, how many of us collect Funko Pops and action figures and comic books that are really meant for children? We hang on to the stuff of our youth well into adulthood. There are adults who really struggle with that. They struggle with the concept of I have to eventually become an adult, where I'm allowed some light leisure, but for the most part, I have to be a serious person and can't do it. They can't make the leap. So here's him doing the good work of trying, and there's Alinda saying, this is a sin. This is terrible what you're doing. This is abuse. This is neglect. This is all the bad things. And it's like, this is being an adult. That's what this is.
To tie that in with, I mean, I've done a lot of like thought on what you're talking about, because, you know, here I am, 47 years old, and I still collect comics. Why do I really enjoy looking at these action figures? I believe, and I am a very nostalgic guy. I always love the 80s. A lot of what I think goes into that is freedom. Back then, as a child, you had the freedom to do these things without having to worry about all of that. So
every day I wake up and scan TikTok lives, and every day when people should be working, I just see people hanging out on TikTok live. These motherfuckers who are spending work hours fishing on TikTok live, and they're like my age or younger. I'm like, I want to sink your boat. I want to play a real game of Battleship and sink your boat. I'm chained to my desk, you know, getting emotionally vomited on for 9 hours at a time. That's my kink, I guess. And there's these people on TikTok live just have all the time in the world to sit there and just drool all of themselves while people watch for no good reason. And I'm like, why?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of issue 3, I need to get this out before we move on, because I'm going to forget. It would be a great wrap-up thought if I would have thought about it before we started the show. But as I said earlier, it seems like each time that he's dying is right on the precipice of something that he's figured out. This story as a whole, I think what they are trying to say, as tragic as this happens in your lifetime multiple times. They're trying to show here that he's had 10 great moments and they were taken away from him by death. You need to understand that your life has these moments and appreciate the fact that you're alive and seize the day. All right, enough of that.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.